Well, it looks like Sony has officially bent the knee to Microsoft, and if you're a PlayStation fan, you're probably wondering why they didn't just do this months and months ago to get it over with. The FTC never had a case. Obviously, Microsoft has a ton of money and some of the best lawyers you can have. Of course, they would have never even tried to buy Activision if they hadn't already been assured that it would go through by probably multiple lawyers. And again, passing in 41 different countries. The CMA looks like that's going to be shored up very soon. They've defeated the FTC at multiple iterations, and before you even jump on it, they could do an appeal, but that wouldn't get seen or heard until later this year, which means they can go ahead and close up to that point since their original appeals have been thrown out. But now, such a weird thing to do on a weird day too. Phil Spencer announced, he said, "We are pleased to announce that Microsoft and PlayStation have signed a binding agreement to keep Call of Duty on PlayStation following the acquisition of Activision Blizzard. We look forward to a future where players globally have more choice to play their favorite video games." Now, again, this was something that Microsoft had tried to get done months and months and months ago, right? To no avail. Like, why couldn't this have gotten done before? I honestly don't know, but it's really unfortunate that it wasn't done because, to be honest with you, this is one of those things that I think people knew would happen. Like, to me, I'm thinking to myself, it looks like this deal is going through, and Sony has signed no deals to keep Call of Duty on PlayStation. There is no legally binding deals for PlayStation to keep Call of Duty. They better rush in there and do something. PlayStation accounts for a huge portion. Call of Duty accounts for a huge portion of the money that PlayStation makes. So this is pretty crazy stuff. Little is known about the terms of the agreement or how long it will last. It puts to bed one of the biggest hurdles in Microsoft's prolonged acquisition of Call of Duty publisher itself. Microsoft President Brad Smith also said, and I quote, "From day one of this acquisition, we've been committed to addressing the concerns of regulators, platform and game developers, and consumers. Even as we cross the finish line for this deal's approval, we remain focused on ensuring that Call of Duty remains available on more platforms and for more consumers than ever before." Now, although Microsoft figures testified that the idea of making Call of Duty exclusive was never on the table, it somehow remained a sticking point for the PlayStation maker. Obviously, Call of Duty is regularly the best-selling game of the year, and even if full exclusivity was off the table, the prospect of the game entering Xbox Game Pass at launch for a comparatively tiny fee was one of PlayStation's largest issues with the deal. The reality of this was Phil Spencer tried to make deals with Jim Ryan early on with this, and there was never a sticking point, in my opinion, that this wasn't going to be the case, that they wanted to keep Call of Duty on PlayStation, much the way you keep Minecraft on PlayStation and Nintendo. You want to make as much money as you can with this particular franchise because it's one of those tentpole franchises every year that just does phenomenally well. Now, the other thing behind this that I kind of will point out is that Jim Ryan had said multiple times that he wasn't interested in any deals. He wanted this thing blocked, and he even admitted early on, which actually was very helpful in the Microsoft Activision court proceedings, was that he was offered to even extend the co-marketing deal, right, where Sony gets extra stuff and things like that, and the marketing deal. And he turned all of that down. So it's kind of crazy that obviously that this has even happened. So the other day, the U.S. court denied the FTC's request to further halt Microsoft's acquisition of Activision Blizzard, paving the way for the deal to close. And earlier in the week, the Xbox firm won a court battle with the FTC, which is seeking to block the deal over antitrust concerns. Microsoft can now close the deal after the current restraining order. Well, they can already do that. But yeah, pretty interesting stuff to see this actually happen the way that it has. And, again, quite often bending the knee. Now, listen, I get that, like, a lot of PlayStation fans are very, like, I guess I want to say the word proud for some reason. I don't know. But it seems like a lot of PlayStation fans are, quote-unquote, proud. And so, obviously, they want to see... they all were propping up Jim Ryan. Like, this whole time, they've been propping up Jim Ryan. Oh, man, he's such a great guy. He's the man. He delivers the games, and he's got PlayStation gamers' interest at heart and all this kind of stuff. Honestly, he has Sony's business at heart, and that's it. And, again, losing the ability to plaster a PlayStation logo on Call of Duty every year is a big blow. Losing the ability to say, hey, we've got extra unlocks, we've got extra this, we've got that, we've got, all this kind of stuff. Again, losing that is going to be kind of hurtful for PlayStation. So, again, signing a binding agreement, this is just makes a lot of sense from everybody. We don't know about the exact time frame. Is this the same 10-year agreement that Phil said under oath? But Microsoft should continue to ship all versions of Call of Duty on PlayStation for the next 10 years, although the duration has not been confirmed, just like I said. The latest development is a pretty big one, and I would assume that, all that posturing that Sony did, we won't send our dev kits or whatever. Listen, usually when you announce a new console, right, the dev kits get sent out maybe a year ahead of time. That is, and usually these consoles are announced relatively around the same time, Xbox and PlayStation. Not enough time, considering that these consoles usually are in the developmental phase for 3, 4, 5 years. Not enough time to go in there and change something drastically. You know what I mean? But if Sony does decide to not play ball, then next generation, when that kicks off, then Xbox will have the next gen version of Call of Duty, and PlayStation won't. They'll be having to play the PS5 version or whatever, not the PSX version. So again, this is really interesting stuff to really see that the way that it's kind of come about. And again, like, I think on a day like today, you don't expect big news like this. But yeah, this was pretty interesting stuff, and I thought it was definitely one of the things that I wanted to kind of do a video on, since obviously a lot of people are going to be talking about this, and kind of just the handling of the entire situation, I think, has been very interesting across the board. And again, Microsoft has done a very good job of, in my opinion, sticking to their word. People want to hate on them or whatever, but if you look at Minecraft, which is a similar type situation, there wasn't even any contracts needed for that. So yeah, pretty crazy to see. But again, not totally unexpected. You knew that Sony would come around and that they would want to keep one of their biggest cash cows on the platform. Like, you have to do that. You have to do that. Like, they're so stubborn not to do it early, as if them not signing earlier was ever going to put this in doubt. Because when you're the number one company like PlayStation is in gaming, you definitely lose any rights to kind of dictate what those in last place can do. So yeah, man, I think this is awesome for Microsoft. They're going to be making so much bank through this. They are, just honestly, people don't even realize that they're going to make so much money off of the ability to put this game on PlayStation, to put it on Nintendo. And yes, I don't think they're going to have it on Nintendo Switch. I think even if you started development on something right now, I don't know, maybe you could port it in a year, but I just don't see them having enough time by the time this closes to get like the newest ones out. But I think probably 2025 on the Switch successor, I think that definitely makes a lot of sense to kind of get that out there, and we'll likely see something like that around that particular point in time. So yeah, awesome to see. They bent the knee. He's in my opinion, he's not the guy. I don't care what anybody says. He's honestly not the guy. So let me know what you guys think, though, because like I said, it really kind of comes down to a lot of thoughts and things like that from you, the fans. I think that it was definitely the right move to make sure that PlayStation gets Call of Duty in the future. You can't be without that franchise, I think. I mean, that game is transcendental, it's ingrained in pop culture. So yeah, there will be millions of people that go to Xbox, because obviously there's millions of people apparently on PlayStation that only play Call of Duty and nothing else. Why would you pay $550 for a PlayStation, $60 to play online every for a year, and $70 for the game, when you can spend like $250 on an Xbox and get Game Pass, and that covers both the online and the game? So we'll see how it all shakes out. Sounds good for Microsoft, though, and I'm very curious to hear what everyone else has to say on the matter. Should be a good back and forth. So love to see Jim Ryan, though, get clowned and punked a bit. So let me know what you guys think. Rack 'em up, fact 'em up, crap gamer 'em up, crap gamer out.